Straight people of Reddit, what's the gayest thing you've done? I was in basic training. The showers in basic were just this square room with shower heads all around the outside. And a small, 4 feet opening on the end to go in and out. Well. In basic training. They tend to hurry you up a little bit whenever you do anything. In a rush to get out. I shuffled face to face with this other guy that was coming in through that opening. Somehow. Our dicks contacted damn near at the base. And slid alongside each other, like a cool handshake or something. We looked into each other's eyes, and he said we will never speak of this. And I said yep. Best friend is gay. He's a couple years older than me. So he has been going to bars for a while before I turned 21. He had a gay bar that he loved and would always talk about the new friends he made there, and since he was from the deep south and kinda newly out. He just felt like he finally had people that got him. Anyway. The day I turned 21. Instead of going to some club or something. I went to his gay bar. Watched a drag show. And my buddy bought me some shit where a super ripped bartender put his legs around me and gave me a shot poured from a shot glass with his mouth about 2 inches from mine. It was honestly fun as shit. And I'm a very secure dude, so it was all in fun. I'll even admit. It was kinda fun to be hit on like I was some sort of super stud. I have never felt as flattered as when I've been hit on more than once a night in a gay bar. I know it's not at all the same for women because they have to worry about creeps and violent men, but getting propositioned multiple times every now and then is dope half, and straight dudes don't get to experience that very often. When I was in the military, my good friend moved into my apartment with my ex-wife and me for about 6 months. We got drunk one night and pissed into the same toilet. At the same time. With the door open. We got some good laughs out of my ex. I'd like to think that's why we did it, but mostly, I think it was a measuring contest. Pissed into the same toilet at the same time. My brother and I used to do this as kids. We'd call it lightsabers because when the piss streams would hit, they'd spark like lightsabers. Our cousin was visiting one time and decided to join us, and he just started pissing all over my leg, and I was like WTF edit. Also. Peeing in the toilet and then leaving it unflushed for the other brother to come at his pee to was called making flubber, and I have no fucking idea why. Accidentally kissed my friend at a Halloween party. We were all up in each other's face for a mock aggressive stare down. So I made the kissy face to be funny. We were closer together than I thought. He said I was a good kisser. Tried to crank it to gay porn just to check. Didn't work, but I didn't know about incognito clearing history, so that was a fun talk with my parents. Young me was an idiot. Held my bro's dick for him so he could piss. He had an arm in a sling and had managed to throw his other shoulder out drunk as fucking Vegas. Couldn't he have just sat down? Lol. Nah. 1 because bless the lad. He'd piss on his own balls before he made the toilet. 2. He was drunk. Getting up off the toilet, much less pulling pants up, etc. He'd have probably died. 3. IDK about you, but I wouldn't wish a casino shitter on my worst enemy. Much less my best friend. This was in the early days of my college career when I'd go see my friends at another college. After partying during the day-night, 4 of us would pile into a single double bed and spoon. A few times one of us would call out spoon change to signal it was time for us all to turn over and face the opposite direction at it. Username checks out, I get it lol. Only Swedish people know what happened in the pillow room. I'm going to wonder this for the rest of my life, please elaborate what the fuck that means. Inferring from the context, I reckon gay sex happens in the pillow room. The hell is a pillow room? A pillow room is where we Scandinavians can wild around without cracking our skulls because we're Viking and shit. But we use it to swing our swords around instead when the grown-ups aren't looking. It's a sex dungeon. Was 12 years old or so at my friend Ty's house. He was maybe 10, offered me $20 to make a X with our winers. Needless to say, later that day I bought myself 2 12-packs of soda and some bags of chips. My best friend was sad his boyfriend of a number of years cheated on him, and so my friend dumped him. He was most upset. He had booked a trip for a bear cub retreat in Northern California. It had been a year or so since we had actually seen each other, so I suggested he go and I would come up and we could spend some time together and go wine tasting. And that's what happened. But the night I showed up was the bear cub ball. So I was his date. We grew up together. It was strictly platonic. He's more my brother, but I learned that night I'm considered a bear. We came in second place in the ball. So much back hair. Rip pool drain. We laugh about it still and I love him very much. He met another man that weekend and they celebrated their 5th anniversary last Pi Day. Lol is a straight guy from the area. Lazy bear weekend is a hoot. Obviously I've only been when invited by my gay friends, but it is a good time. Got my buddy laid there one time. I'm a good wingman. I remember randomly visiting Guerneville during Lazy Bear weekend while on vacation with my aunt and grandmother. I had to explain to them what bears meant in that context because they thought it was a celebration of literal bears. Told them to just look at all the happy, hairy guys around us. Also, I was a 14-year-old straight girl. Just one with a precocious knowledge of gay male subculture. When I was a teenager, I was pretty flexible and tried sucking my own dick. I was able to touch it with my tongue the first time I tried. I kept trying. Ultimately, I was able to get about an inch in my mouth, which was enough to give myself a good enough BJ to cum. So, I guess you could say I've sucked enough dick to know I don't really like sucking dick. I had a sleepover at my friend's house when I was 13, and we laid out some blankets and fell asleep in his living room. I woke up first to him spooning me, and I didn't move at all because I wanted to avoid any awkward moment in our friendship by having us both know of that cuddle moment. So I laid there as still as I could for maybe 30 minutes until he woke up and quickly but carefully got off of me. I then got up 10 minutes later. And that moment now doesn't exist in our friendship. Had to hold my buddy's hand while the doctor played hand puppet with his prostate. Slapped my friend's ass and then kicked it after he stole my strepsils because his voice sounded horrible during a residential school trip. In the night he slapped my ass again, so I slapped it back. It ended up being a fight until like 12 in the night. All other 6 kids who was watching joined in the fight. That meant everyone was slapping each other's ass. Was in the boys' room. Me and my best bud, at the time, accidentally interlocked our ass cheeks in bed together. Well, I had a comfortably but not publicly out gay kid convince me that the best way to practice having sex with a girl, we were 13 at the time, was to practice humping each other. I had zero idea that was an issue, and we dry humped for an hour or so. I just had a flashback to my childhood. I remember I had a sleepover, around 13 years old, at a friend's house. We played soccer together and there were other girls there, too. I remember we all slept in the attic, which was a really cool hangout place, and we had air mattresses and sleeping bags. I was sleeping in a sleeping bag and I remember waking up to my friend. She somehow convinced me to practice kissing so we'd be prepared for boys. And I recall her climbing on top of me and making out hard, and she was grinding just as hard. It was not unpleasant and I have no idea if anyone realized what we were doing. Their story reminded me of the buried memory. We never made out again. When I was about 10, my friend and I decided to practice kissing. Our parents were all doctors, so we had some vague sense of being safe and needing protection. Therefore we decided to be responsible and keep a sheet of plastic cling film between our mouths when making out. That's so adorable number. We actually met at a party 15 years later. Both quite drunk, and we both immediately yelled, "I have kept our secret." Like we were ancient temple knights guarding the Holy Grail at the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. On the bells at New Year's this year, I kissed my other straight dude friend. Everyone else there was a couple and we decided to show them up by being more passionate. We were very drunk. I didn't remember it until 2 weeks after. But times. Edit. By passionate I mean that we were really going for it. No tongues. But it was sloppy. Wasn't really passionate lamau. Had a threesome and ended up liking the girl better. You know when porn just cuts to the dude's balls. Made out with a dude. He's now my best man at it, really. Why is this my top comment? When my best friend and I were in Thailand, we met this throuple. 2 chicks and a guy. I found one of the girls so fucking attractive. So. No. We were hanging out and drinking, and eventually I make a move. Noticing how open they all were. She tells me, "Yeah. I'll make out with you, but only if my BF says it's okay." So I ask him and he replies, "You can kiss her, but first you have to make out with me." So I did. And then I made out with her. And now she's my best friend's baby mama. I watched an episode of Glee once. I also like to dildo my ass, but I led with a strong argument. Edit. Slow clap figures. My most upvoted comment is about me sticking a dildo up my ass. Damn, I was expecting to find a bunch of weird shit, but a lot of this are surprisingly wholesome. Shared a pillow and sleeping bag with another guy. I'm 6'3", 200 pounds, and he was 6'1", 180 pounds, so it was a tight squeeze. But it was minus 45 degrees C and we were in a cabin without heat, so it was worth it. To answer some common questions. We were in Northern Ontario, Canada. When we went to bed we were back to back. When we woke up I was the little spoon. No, we weren't wearing socks. No, I don't think survival is gay, but this is the gayest thing I've personnel done. Yes, we said no homo first, and we were making gay jokes the entire time at it too. We weren't wearing socks because we were trying to disperse body heat throughout the sleeping bag. Because we didn't have loose socks and it would restrict circulation, especially with us not moving around. And we were always told to not wear socks while camping in the cold here if you're in a sleeping bag. Because your feet will sweat and they'll get even colder, similar to not wearing a coat while hiking in the cold here. Better to be a little cold than a little too warm because of sweat. Me and my friends one night got really drunk and started streaking around where we live, very small area. Got so mad lad we started handshaking each other's dicks. How do you do? We would say. Love the lads with all my heart. Back in high school I would hang out with a friend I'd known since elementary school. And he came out as gay in sophomore year. One day we were hanging out at my house, parents were out of town that day, and we got on the topic of sexuality. I mentioned that, since I didn't have much experience at that point, wasn't 100% sure if I was straight. Gay, or whatever. Then he says, well, I happen to know a pretty good way to figure out if you're gay or not, being the horny high schooler that I was. I say fuck it. Sure, and we both drop our pants to jerk each other off. He grabs my dick and gets it up. So far so good, it feels alright though not amazing or anything. Then I grab his dick. And suddenly I'm hit with this overwhelming feeling of wow. I'm very straight. We stopped soon after. Since I wasn't comfortable jerking him off after that. I felt bad since I felt like I had led him on or something, but he seemed to think the whole situation was hilarious. Lived with a gay guy for a couple years in college who seemingly befriended me, at the beginning at least, because he hoped I was gay too. Then came out to me and still wanted to see if I was interested in sharing an apartment. I was really honored he was open to sharing that part of his life with me and moving in together even after finding out I wasn't also gay. We were great friends. And other than the time I accidentally burned some rice in one of his pots, I replaced it, we had a great living situation. This was in a fairly conservative area and time, so he and our friends were really careful about who to come out to, and our apartment became the place to be for our gay and lesbian friends. Once a month we'd have a big gay weekend so everyone could have fun and feel safe and free in this difficult place for them. We'd have everyone stay in for drinks and snacks and video games. Then go to the drag night to dance at the only place anywhere nearby that was accepting and encouraging of LGBTA for one night a month. Then come back to the apartment, lay a couple mattresses on the floor of the den. And watch goofy movies or, depending on intoxication levels, the funniest porn we could find. It was awesome. I actually would have done much better, hookup-wise, had I been gay. Alas. But I did fine on the straight side. He and I would help each other since we had opposite target audiences and I made treasured friendships. Very kind of you. It's nice to see some wholesome things on this thread. Thank you. Honestly, I felt it was so kind of them to be open with me. This was a very conservative rural college town and it was only a few years after Matthew Shepard was murdered, so their fear was tangible. We had some fun times escaping all that. French kissed a guy on a drunk dare. Biggest surprise for me was that it just felt like kissing D. I know it sounds stupid, but I thought it will somehow feel different with a man, but it didn't really. This experience actually taught me a lot about sexuality. Not me, but this happened at the gym yesterday and I am still a bit shocked. So I walk into the locker room to change my shoes and put away my stuff. These two guys are sitting talking about their workout. They then fist bump. Stand up. Face to face. Full eye contact and both pull down their pant and underwear. Now men locker rooms have plenty of naked men. But I have never in my life seen two men make eye contact and go cock to change. Compare dick size.